Hello, YouTube. It's your main man, BTM here, bringing you back to the Black Tiger Miner YouTube channel. In the BTM Crypto News Network, and we're talking about KASPA. KASPA. And KASPA is getting ready for the bounce back, right? It's starting to push back up. Things are circling back around. Everyone that fudding Caspa is about to be shocked, especially with the Crescendo update coming out and 10 BPS on the way and the rest of the Caspa updates. So let me know what you guys think about Caspa. And let's start the spotlight. Let me see here. Where is it at? Okay, here we go. So if you see here, this is the crypto bubbles. Where's Caspa? Caspa is up 4.4% today, 0.9 in the last hour, down 4.9 last week, 12.8 in the last month, and down 48.9% over the last year. So let me know what you guys think about that. Fartcoin is down 24.9. Ticket chat's down 13.9, tripping. Farcoin is up 24.9. GigaChat is up 13.9. Prime is up 11.5. XPX is up 20.4. AIXBT is up 10.5. Argo is up 9.3. Solana's up 7.4. Should have picked that Solana up. What is up? XRP Trucker. Interesting. Peanuts up 6.5. Dodge is up 7.6. Near's up 2.2. Mog's up 8.1. Heroes up 7.4. And let me see here. Let's go through the crypto information. Looks like Caspa's pushing up on the 5-hour chart. Trying to figure out if I can get to a stopping point here. Caspa is currently 6.5 cents, up 1.3 in the last 24 hours. 1.9 billion market cap. Currently 5.8 up in the last 24 hours. And I need to take a quick
change the world.
break. So let me see if we can find a video real quick. Dang it. All right, so let's start with this video from yesterday from your crypto crew. And he's talking about Tether. Be right back.
In the matrix, scoping out the crypto ocean. So if you like your odds, get on the boat, stay up to date, thumbs up, and join the hunt.
Into the boat.
Crypto crew, today we're diving into one of the most exciting developments for KASPA, that being KASPA stablecoins or stablecoins on the KASPA network. If you've been following the crypto ocean, you know stablecoins are the backbone powering over 50% of all crypto transaction volume. But what if I told you that KASPA could revolutionize the stablecoin game? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why Tether on KASPA could be the best network for stablecoins, leaving Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, Tron, and Solana in the dust. Prove all things, hold fast that which is good. KASPA is not just another cryptocurrency, it is a digital asset, the digital silver to Bitcoin's digital gold. And so, like all assets, crypto crew, you need to protect them. Practicing self-custody is key, especially amidst this 2025 bull run. In my personal opinion, the Tangem wallet is your best option. Plug and play, easy to use, and the most affordable cold storage. So if you wish to order your Tangem wallet today, you can get 10% off using code CryptoCrew, link in the description box below. Thanks so much for your support in advance, and may the Lord Jesus Christ bless you all.
In 2023 alone, fiat-backed traditional cash-backed stablecoins facilitated over crypto $7 trillion worth of transactions globally. So that's more than the value processed by MasterCard and PayPal combined. So this remarkable volume highlights the increasing demand for stablecoins, not just within the crypto community, but from businesses and institutions that are seeking a faster, more efficient, and more secure way to transact value and settle contracts.
Crypto crew, first, let's talk about why stablecoins are so important. Stablecoins like USDT and USDC are the lifeblood on the crypto ocean. They provide a stable store of value, facilitate cross-border payments, and are the go-to medium for trading and liquidity. Over 50% of all crypto transaction volume happens on stablecoins. That's trillions of dollars moving through the system every month. But here's the problem. The current networks powering stablecoins, BNB, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tron, and Solana are far from perfect. High fees, slow transaction speeds, and centralization issues are a constant plague to these networks. And this is where KASPA comes in. KASPA is a unique proof of work system that solves the blockchain trilemma, something even Bitcoin cannot do. And so KASPA could become the ultimate network for stablecoins. This will be one of the ways for KASPA to catch the attention across the entire crypto ocean, even from staunch Bitcoin maxis such as Jack Mallers, who does not like stablecoins at all.
In the last 30 days, stablecoins have seen $3 trillion of transaction volume. They've seen well over $100 million of transactions in literal numerical terms. These numbers are absolutely mind-blowing. We went to go launch these products in Latin America and in Africa, and initially, it never crossed my mind that we would integrate a stable coin. I have no use case for a stable coin. I don't get the crave. I don't understand why people love them and adore them and why they're growing so much until I went to El Salvador, until I went to Africa, until I talked to customers in Argentina. And then I realized not only are stable coins popular there, this is one of the fastest growing technologies in the world. So this green line here is the growth of Tether specifically. So again, I can only speak for myself and the CEO of the company that I founded. We've never, ever been asked to support any other stablecoin outside of Tether. This product is specifically for Latin American markets and African markets, and those markets demanded, and they said, Jack, listen, we need a way to get Tether in and out of the app. Historically, we've only supported holding a Tether balance, and you can only move money on the Bitcoin networks, on Bitcoin on-chain or the Bitcoin Lightning Network. We've never supported any other networks. So with that, it's a fairly simple announcement, but one of the things I really wanted to address is the fact that we're supporting deposits and withdrawals on Tron, which is a coin, and to be clear, I still think is a violent coin. But I said, as far as supporting Tron, that's FUD. We only support making and receiving Bitcoin and Lightning payments. We don't support any other network. Not sure what you're talking about. Now, at the time, this was true. And this announcement totally contradicts what I just said back then. We clearly, I can't say this anymore.
Once KASPA runs on 10 blocks per second, once smart contracts are implemented on the KASPA network, once KASPA comes out with stable coins or has the ability to host stable coins on the KASPA network, knowing KASPA is the only crypto project on the current crypto ocean walking in the footsteps of granddad Bitcoin, but an improved version, basically Bitcoin on internet speed, I believe Bitcoin maxis such as Jack Mallers and Michael Saylor would be open to welcome stablecoins as an option if presented on the KASPA network. KASPA is built on a revolutionary proof of work system designed for speed, scalability, and decentralization. Unlike traditional blockchains, KASPA uses a block DAG architecture, which allows it to confirm transactions in seconds, soon processing with 10 blocks per second. That's faster than Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tron, and even Solana. Now, why does this matter for stablecoins? Well, stablecoins need a network that's fast, cheap, and secure. KASPA checks all these boxes. Its high throughput ensures that stablecoin transactions are processed almost instantly, while its low fees make it accessible to everyone from retail users to institutional players. And because KASPA is a proof of work network, it's secure as Bitcoin, but without the slow transaction times. Let's break down how KASPA would stack up against the current stablecoin networks. A, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the most secure network in the world, but also the slowest. Transactions can take up to an hour or longer to confirm. The fees can be unpredictable, so Bitcoin is not suited at all when it comes to being a stablecoin network in 2025 and beyond. KASPA offers the same level of security as BTC, but with transaction speeds that is future-proof. B, Ethereum. Ethereum is the OG smart contract platform, but let's be real, these fees are insane during peak times. You could be paying $20 or much more just in gas fees, while KASPA's fees are a fraction of that, making it a much more practical option for everyday users. C, Tron. Tron is currently the most popular network for USDT, but also, like its predecessors, far from perfect. Whilst it's fast and has lower transaction fees, it's heavily centralized. This makes it vulnerable to censorship and control by a single entity. KASPA, on the other hand, has no pre-mine, no companies behind it, no pre-allocations. KASPA is the quintessential community-driven crypto project, as KASPA is a fully decentralized network.
We've got Grayscale and hedge funds starting to invest into KASPA. We've got Casplex. We've got the Crescendo fork taking it to 10 blocks per second. And you're bearish on KASPA right now?
D, Binance Smart Chain, or BNB. BNB is fast and cheap, but it's also centralized, with Binance holding a significant control over the network. KASPA's proof of work system ensures that no single entity can control the network, making it a more secure and decentralized option. E, Solana. Solana is known for its speed, but has had multiple outages since its inception, raising questions about its reliability. Remember when Donald Trump launched his meme coin on Solana around his inauguration in January 2025? At around 10 million transactions, the Solana network collapsed. That is simply inexcusable, especially during the 2025 bull run, when investors will attempt to sell off their profits. Au contraire, KASPA did between 15 to 20 million transactions in one day without breaking a sweat, and that was KASPA running on 1 block per second. As a network, KASPA is much more reliable than Solana, and soon KASPA will be 10 times faster than it is today. So when you compare KASPA to all of these networks, it is clear that KASPA offers the best combination of speed, low cost, security, and decentralization. Tether on KASPA could be a game changer, not just for the network, but for the entire stablecoin market. Here's another reason why KASPA stablecoins are so important. Stablecoins are becoming a key source of liquidity for the US government. Tether, for example, holds billions of dollars in US Treasury bills, providing critical liquidity to the US economy. By supporting stablecoins, KASPA could play a role in this worldwide financial ecosystem, further solidifying its importance. And let's not forget the potential for mass adoption. With its low fees and fast transactions, KASPA could make stablecoins more accessible to people in developing countries where high fees and slow networks are a major barrier. This could open the door to financial inclusion for the entire world.
I really think the technology behind KASPA is unique and is going to work in a cash-based system.
So what's KASPA doing to make this a reality? Well, the KASPA team already are in talks with the likes of Tether, Circle, and other stablecoin issuers to bring stablecoins to the KASPA network. These discussions are well underway, and it's only a matter of time before we see USDT and other stablecoins operating on KASPA. And when that happens, the entire game changes. KASPA could dethrone Tron as the top network for stablecoins, potentially driving KASPA's market cap into the top 10 cryptocurrencies. This is a huge opportunity, not just for KASPA, but for the entire crypto ecosystem. Not financial advice, of course, just my opinion I share with conviction. Do your own research. Don't stare at the current price in action. Yes, KASPA is making a correction at the making of this recording, but so is the entire crypto ocean. It is time to study the market and build your conviction, because this 2025 bull run is not over just yet. The ones who will bank their crypto profit profits on this crypto ocean. Back, or if this is your first time, I'm Captain Crypto Mite, actively escaping the matrix, scoping out the crypto ocean. So if you like your odds, get on the boat, stay up to date, thumbs up, and join the hunt.
Into the boat!
Crypto Crew, today we'll discuss some KASPA Alpha, developments regarding smart contracts, and stable coins. So many things that are about to unfold for KASPA. That's why I continue to state, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. KASPA is an accumulation of 10 years of deep research and development by some of the brightest minds on the crypto ocean that prominent people in the crypto game know of without knowing KASPA per se.
Vitalik Buterin.
He's the guy who created, or he's a
Yeah.
lead developer on Ethereum.
Yeah.
He's actually an interesting guy, young prodigy, probably like 20 or 21 now. Started when he was 18. Absolutely brilliant.
There's a guy named Aviv Zohar who's written some great papers. One of them is on Ghost, which is what Ethereum is based on. And he's got a follow-up to that whose name escapes me. And he's also co-authored a great paper on attacks against Bitcoin from the underlying network. So he's one of the experts on the security of Bitcoin, which is a skill and knowledge set in scarce supply. So
Ridwan asks, can I elaborate on Polkadot's consensus mechanism, which is called Grandpa? Ghost is the greedy, heaviest object state tree or something like that, which is a mechanism used in the consensus algorithm of Ethereum at first and other systems too. Grandpa is kind of an extension of that, the recursive ancestor deriving prefix agreement.
KASPA just dropped an update about Ghost Stag, and if you're not a dev, it might sound a bit too technical, so here's the simple version. Ghost Stag is what lets KASPA be fast, secure, and fair. Most chains follow one straight line of blocks, but KASPA can handle loads of blocks at once by using a DAG, a directed acyclic graph. Ghost Stag figures out how to include blocks properly and fairly reward them, even when they come in at the same time. This tech helps KASPA stay true to the Nakamoto consensus while scaling like a beast. Oh, and on May the 5th, KASPA will hit 10 blocks per second. Probably nothing.
Before we continue today's vid, remember Crypto Crew, KASPA is the digital silver to Bitcoin's digital gold. And like all assets, you should protect them always. Practicing self-custody is key, especially amidst this 2025 bull run. In my personal opinion, the Tangem wallet is your best option. Plug and play, easy to use, and the most affordable cold storage out there. So if you wish to order your Tangem wallet today, you can get 10% off using code CryptoCrew. Link in the description box below. Thanks so much for your consideration and support in advance, and may the Lord Jesus Christ bless you all. Crypto Crew, on April 1st, Casplex hosted a space on X, and Caspador from Casplex dropped some major alpha. Listen to this, Crypto Crew.
At the end of the day, bridging will benefit everyone. This means that the miners will earn extra revenue and the users will be able to get predictable fees. And this can be split in the following two, let's say, chapters, right? It's a fee structure and let's say economic benefits. In terms of bridging, this will mean that layer 1 gas fee will be paid to the miners, and the layer 2 gas fees will be a fixed cost for the zero knowledge EVM computation, which is going to be paid in bridged gas. And this is a small alpha, but obviously we cannot say names, but for everyone here to be aware that we are already collaborating with other entities to build a bridge, not only between obviously layer 1 and layer 2 KASPA, but also between KASPA layer 2 and other blockchains. So this is very important because we can expand our ecosystem by including other blockchains.
So KASPA will expand their ecosystem, even including other blockchains, and soon Casplex will run what they call an alpha testnet in a matter of weeks from the making of this recording.
And coming back to what I was saying, like the two chapters, I've discussed about the fee structure. Again, miners getting paid and layer 2 getting gas fees for the computation of the ZK EVM. Then the economic benefits, as I was saying, basically miners will get and will earn extra revenue from the smart contract transaction that will be generated. Because as soon as we have smart contracts, this will I'm sure of it, not hopefully, I'm sure that this will create tons of transactions on the network. And users will have predictable layer 2 fees, so they will know what to expect. And in a few weeks, what we are aiming to do is to launch let's say, an alpha version for all users to be able to test it. We are calculating this in weeks instead of months. So this is very, very close for everyone to test and see how the L2 and L1 are talking to each other. And this, they will be able to do submit transactions and see the results, so on and so forth. A very, very short answer to this is a few weeks to have the alpha testnet available to our users.
Now, Casplex is one of the projects developing smart contracts on the KASPA network, which in my opinion will help KASPA grow in adoption, for example, within the matter of stable coins. As mentioned in previous videos, stable coins is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and because of KASPA's unique ability to solve the blockchain trilemma as a proof of work consensus, KASPA with smart contracts will provide a unique option when it comes to smart contracts, and the United States is waking up to the possibilities of stablecoins.
Stablecoin legislation. Stablecoins have the ability to greatly increase the speed of payments and settlements and to make our economic system even more efficient. Stablecoins will also support the advancement of the US dollar around the globe. If we allow other countries to fill the void before the United States is able to put together a robust stablecoin regime, we will regret it when the transactions around the world are done with currencies from geopolitical adversaries like China.
We met with the members of the subcommittee. We walked everybody through the bill. We talked about the details. We talked about areas where there's room for negotiation and areas that seem to be pretty well fixed and understood. Then we had a hearing, our first hearing just a couple days ago, to talk both about stablecoins and market structure and the importance of both. So when we finally go to markup, in the banking committee, we will start with stablecoins. Then we'll move to market structure.
Stablecoins represent a bridge between the familiar world of traditional finance and the exciting possibilities of KASPA technology. So stablecoins are a unique solution for businesses that are hesitant to dive headfirst into sometimes volatile world of cryptocurrencies. And unlike traditional cryptos, stablecoins are designed to maintain a stable value. So this is typically achieved by pegging them to a reserve asset like the US dollar or a basket of other assets. This stability is what makes stablecoins so compelling for businesses and for exchanges. In 2023 alone, fiat-backed, traditional cash-backed stablecoins facilitated over crypto $7 trillion worth of transactions globally. So that's more than the value processed by MasterCard and PayPal combined. So this remarkable volume highlights the increasing demand for stablecoins, not just within the crypto community, but from businesses and institutions that are seeking a faster, more efficient, and more secure way to transact value and settle contracts.
We're going to make sure this asset and other assets in digital format become the product that the world looks to. This becomes the product that helps America remain the world's reserve currency and that brings about innovations that make money faster and cheaper and better available, regardless of where you live in the world, regardless of your circumstance. This really is freedom money, and America should lead when it comes to freedom money.
With SEC nominee Paul Atkins getting confirmation to run the SEC, crypto in the U.S. is entering a new era.
The Biden administration just hammered the American people with regulations. And tomorrow I'm dropping a bill called the Financial Freedoms Act. And it allows families and individuals to invest their retirement funds into crypto. Now, President Trump has become the crypto president. And we want to help him with this. This will be something good for everybody. Diversify. It's a free country. Do what you want with your money. But the Biden administration, they didn't want anything to do with crypto.
Meanwhile, KASPA is continuing to develop just before the 2025 bull run continues. And for those who huddle KASPA, it seems a perfect storm is brewing for KASPA.
Soon, on May 5th, the Crescendo hard fork is going to activate on the KASPA network, and we all know what that means, right? 10 blocks per second. But actually, it means so much more. Crescendo is packed with exciting features, optimizations, and improvements that will take KASPA to the next level, much more than just VPS. To share the excitement, lead core dev Michael Sutton posted a brain dump. a dense and long post where he goes over many of the features of Crescendo that excite him. I followed up with my own post where I go over the feature mentioned by Michael and explain them in a bit of detail. The purpose of this video is to take it a step further, to go into the details of some of the many new and exciting features of the Crescendo hard forks.
KASPA is about to roll out its first out of many catalysts. The fact that KASPA is a proof of work coin that will be able to run on 10 blocks per second is an achievement in and of itself, as that has never been done before. But that's just the start of what is coming for KASPA. That's why the current market does not reflect what I personally believe KASPA will be and where KASPA is going. Not financial advice, of course, just my conviction I share with conviction. We are to study to show ourselves approved as a workman. In other words, Crypto Crew, if you haven't already, research KASPA. And if you do hold KASPA, understand what you hold. Prove all things, hold fast that which is good. Stick around. Fix your mind before you get to the grind. And with that said, let's continue to escape the matrix. Let's continue to be on the lookout for the next big thing here on the crypto ocean. Grow in grace, and let's make some crypto waves. Say I.
KASPA holders, welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. We're back yet again with our day-to-day analysis update on KASPA. You guys are absolutely killing it with the support. You guys enjoy these updates a lot. So again, you guys know, continue supporting and you will see a continuation of these KASPA updates that I'm bringing you guys. So looking across the board as we are going into Friday morning, we are seeing, market, kind of going back into the green despite, us seeing so much uncertainty. And speaking about uncertainty, it's still definitely there, guys. Even though we are seeing the market bouncing right now, it's not a time to be getting overly excited because there's a lot of other things we need to keep in mind as what's really happening. But of course, a green day, I'm sure no one's really complaining. But again, in a grand scheme of things, there are other factors that we need to be considering. But anyhow, if you're looking at CAS, it's up 5.4% right now with the price currently sitting at 6.7 cents. Also up 5% in Bitcoin compared. Now, if you're looking at the market cap, 1.7 billion and the 24-hour trading volume at $76 million. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer, anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So you guys know we're going to start off by taking a look at the dominance index. And I mentioned this in my HBAR update. If you did end up watching it, I'm sure you guys are aware of that. We are seeing the dominance index, not showing any signs of slowing down. I repeat, it's not showing any signs of slowing down, which of course you guys know what kind of impact it could have on altcoins if we were to see a little bit of a minor pullback. So dominance itself still climbing quite high. We did see a little bit of a bounce in Bitcoin over the course of the last few hours, which of course has had a positive impact on altcoin market. You can see this for yourself. We were sitting literally at 81.2 a few hours ago, but we found ourselves back in the 38 point of Fibonacci retracement level. And I mentioned this in my HBAR update. It's looking really good as far as Bitcoin is concerned, despite so much volatility, uncertainty. You're still seeing BTC reclaiming back in the 38 point, which again is nice to see. You don't really want to see the price of Bitcoin dropping below the 0.50 and not being able to close back into the 38.2 because 8.2, because if it's unable to do that, I think the chance of us going down to the likes of 76K or potentially even losing that support down to 73.5 is still on the table. But that's not what we're here for. I'm sure everyone wants to know about the price of Caspa, understand what's really happening, what's going on, when is the price of Caspa going to moon. And right now, again, of course, if you're looking at it on a daily time frame, you can't really see what's going on the chart. So that's why we always look at the hourly time frames, because it makes us understand better as to what's really happening. So over the last, you could say pretty much since the beginning of April, I want you guys to understand, we've been having a little bit of a hard time breaking out of the 6.9 cents price point. Kind of spoke to you guys about this range before. And of course, we did see that retracement down to 6 cents, but you could see a nice, beautiful bounce since then. And speaking about this specific bounce, if you somehow got in at the 6 cents price point, we're talking about an 11% increase. But as of now, as we are starting to see the price breakout, there is significant amount of support coming in. I'm sorry, significant amount of resistance coming in, but you're pretty much, the level that you'd really want to be looking at for is the 6.9 cents mark. If it's able to break out, I do personally believe 7.3 cents could be retested and start heading up to that major key resistance, the 8.2 cents that I spoke to you guys about. We know about this major key resistance because pretty much after this key resistance is able to break out, the target is this blue zone. And of course, right now, in a grand scheme of things, it is not a small move by any means. If you want to put this into perspective, that is a 40.6% move from where we currently are. But first step would be obviously, to get back above 6.9 cents because we're having a little bit of a hard time breaking out of this range. And then onwards, we could be talking about some of the other targets. But as of now, I'm liking what I'm seeing here. Of course, some resistance coming in its way. We'll kind of take a look at it tomorrow. But, if Bitcoin is able to break out and obviously remain within this range, and maybe BTC dominance starts showing a little bit of weakness within itself, maybe down to even 62.2%. I do expect CAS could start pushing up to some of these levels that we've been discussing, but one step at a time. Don't forget that patience is required. As long as you've done your due diligence research and have invested where you can afford to lose, then patience is your number one key to follow. Love you all. See you later in Crypto ZX, and peace out.
So KASPA, we're actually looking at something else. So that's why I keep showing you videos. And we'll come and do a summarization of the information shortly. So let me click to another video here.
Subscribe. With that out of the way, let's get straight into it. As always, let's have a look at Bitcoin. It almost reminds me of back in 2004, around that August to September time period. Now, this was when we had that massive war FUD week and there was an enormous amount of liquidations as we did just dip below 50K. Now, market sentiment was increasingly bad at this point and people were calling for some pretty crazy lows to come in. There were pretty bearish thoughts about the market in general.
Hello, everybody.
After
this is
period of
Red
time,
Man,
it
and
did
I
pop
have
up.
Luke. And forgive me if I don't pronounce this correctly, but it's Dunshay.
Dunshay, yeah.
He is a global ambassador with KASPA. He's somebody that I follow on X. We're both big KASPA people, so we wanted to bring to light his new website that he's got out. It's KASP Nodes. It is it's a tool for tracking KASPA nodes on the KASPA networks. And Luke, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Awesome. Thanks, Red. Thanks for having me here. And if it makes you feel better, most people don't pronounce my last name properly, so don't worry at all. But yeah, it's a pleasure to be here and pleasure to talk about a little project that I've been doing in my spare time. It feels funny to kind of like do it, and now we're having a call to discuss it because I always kind of was like doing it as a little bit of a side hobby, but it's fun. So yeah, thanks, Red.
So right now we're in the midst of an upgrade as far as KASPA is concerned. And I think the KASPA community is just totally ecstatic about it, right? Crescendo is here. The upgrade comes May 5th, 2025?
Yes. May 5th. Yep.
So we're about a month out. Everybody is asked to update their nodes. And with that, Luke has dropped his KASP Nodes website. So Luke, you want to just give us a background on your KASP Nodes website, and then what it does, and then how people can utilize it to their benefit?
Yeah, perfect. So definitely great for your listeners or watchers, or I'm not sure what you refer to them, but the people that follow you that may not be too aware of Casper and obviously the big upgrade, because I was kind of mentioned that first. So the Crescendo hard fork is, as you mentioned, coming in roughly about 32 days, I believe it is. And so what that is a non-contentious hard fork. So it is a hard fork with the intention of increasing the block speed amongst many other things. But that is like kind of one of the biggest sort of function changes within it. And so in order to do that, it's a consensus change, which means that there does have to be a hard fork. But whereas other protocols or projects have had contentious forks where there's been disagreements amongst developers or community members, this one is a change that hopefully the majority of the community and what we're already seeing on CAS nodes are agreeing to run with, which is awesome. So I thought I'd just mention that, and just also, so it is going from 1 block per second to 10 blocks per second, which is absolutely just amazing for proof of work, because up until 1 blocks per second on on KASPA, there was no other project that was doing that. We're about to 10x that and turn up the heat. So as far as CAS nodes is concerned, I'll take it back to kind of where the intention of this came from. So first of all, I'm not a developer. Like I'm not someone. I come from a tech background, so I do get the tech side of things, and I love tinkering around, and I love just throwing myself at something, and just seeing how far I can get with it, really. And so essentially, I think probably around New Year's, last New Year's, I had some time on my hand, and I was like, I've always wanted to kind of give something back to the community, other than just my advocacy work. My volunteer advocacy work across different regions and online, etc., etc. And so I think one of the really cool things about Casper is there's a lot of, just like obviously many other projects, but I feel really close to this, but I feel like there is a lot of really amazing developers in the community. And it's always been something that has inspired me to try and push myself out there, to try and create something, try and aspire to these amazing developers, coders, people that are, um, contributing to the code base, and see if I could do something. So, I had to obviously recognize that I may not contribute a pull request to the core Casper code base, but what I can do is, try and build my own little thing, tool, whatever, that I can contribute, and maybe other people find value to it. So that's kind of like where it was born. But I think the purpose of it was, um, I've always, like, I'm a miner myself. Like, I've always loved mining. I enjoy the connection between a physical device and a digital world, right? And that's obviously one of the main things I do love about proof of work, because obviously energy is underpinning it, right? And you can't kind of escape that. But I really always loved mining, right? But arguably, or not arguably, but factually, you cannot have a network. Definitely cannot have Casper without miners, and you cannot have Casper without nodes. They go hand in hand. Right? It's just a fact. If you did not have people running nodes, you would not have the capability to mine. And so it is one of these things that I've noticed in the community, although everyone is hyper aware of the fact that proof of work requires miners, they may not be aware of the fact that the nodes are just as crucial. And so I've always kind of like thought about that and thought, what can I do to try and bring this more to light, bring more awareness, and hopefully bring more people on board to try and run a node, right? And so um, I I was always aware of different initiatives and different projects, and I will just put this out there that I do take a lot of inspiration for CAS nodes from. There's a Bitcoin one called, I think it's called BitNodes. All right, and essentially it's the concept of, sharing information with the community to show them, firstly, how many nodes are there, but with a caveat. I'll come back to that a little bit later. But second of all, where they are and how distributed they are throughout the network. Like what is the level of sort of decentralization that these nodes have, like whether that's geographic or via network providers like ISPs and hosting providers and the like. So it was something that I've always kind of I was aware of the site. I enjoyed all of the amazing information on there and all of the data, because I do love kind of visually seeing things. Sometimes it is hard personally for myself to just grasp lines of words, but I do like to just see visually like what's going on, like how is this, and how can I kind of grasp this as simply as possible. So those things being said, um, I kind of embarked on all right, cool. It's New Year's, or not New Year's, but leading up to New Year's, I'm gonna have a little bit of a play with something. And if you're not aware, there has been a really big rise in AI powered development and AI powered everything. AI everything. If you're not using ChatGPT in some way, shape, or form, then what, are you even using the internet really, or Grok, or something of the like? So the reason why I say that is because, as I said earlier, like I have familiarity with different sort of coding languages at a high level, and conceptually I get it, which I think is definitely half the struggle with coding, because it's communicating with the computer. But I may not have had the ability or depth of ability to really get into the things that were in my head. And that's kind of, I think, one of the things with development, right? You may have an amazing idea or a solution, or whatever, but you're not a developer. So you're like, well, all right, well, I'm going to go find someone and pay them. Now, 2025 rolls around, or leading up to 2025, the whole concept of AI powered development has really fired up. You know, I tell people there really is no longer an excuse not to take those ideas and bring them into reality. And that was basically what I did, right? So, I started off with an idea, a very simple idea. And hopefully I'll kind of expand on that in a second, which is actually the leaderboard part of the site, which arguably is not actually fully implemented. Like, I must step back a minute and say the site, as far as I'm concerned, is still alpha. It is not, it's still a working piece of a working tool that I'm bringing together, right? But I'll come back to that. But essentially, I had this idea. I saw that there definitely was a need in the community for more education about nodes, and the purpose of them, and thought, how can I take this and put it out there in a way that I would like to consume it selfishly. If someone was to create something and I was going to look at it, I want it to be, easy to consume and straight to the point, right? And so all of those things considered, CAS nodes was born, right? And so, went down the rabbit hole. I ambitiously set a target for myself to complete it in a time frame, which, in hindsight, is quite ridiculous. But I put it out there, and I spent some time, and New Year's rolled past, and then January started rolling past, and I was like, oh well, okay, this is actually taking quite a bit longer, because I kind of like dived into a lot more than I had originally intended. And hopefully I'll kind of dive into that a bit after. But it expanded from just simple idea to, well, maybe we should add this, maybe we should add that. And I'm sure that every developer out there is laughing, because they're like, well, in a development cycle, there's going to be a million different things that get added into the mix, and you really should sort of steer away from getting off the purpose of what you're doing. But I started like having these side quests that it was like, all right, well, okay, the crawler is cool. There is an existing crawler out there. The crawler is kind of underpinning CAS nodes. Um, Maybe I should just make my own crawler. Like, that would be fantastic if I could kind of just do my own thing and work it out and learn. Because I think like that is at the heart of this, really what I was trying to do is educate myself before I can educate others. And so went off on these side quests that just kind of lasted weeks, and to the point where I was like, well, actually, now I'm kind of losing a little bit of steam here. And I really just need to send it, just full send it, get some feedback from the community. Is this something that others will find as valuable as I hope they see it? And so that's where the current incarnation of CAS nodes has arrived. It is it is ultimately a site that is providing visuals and straight to the point data about the node spread across the network. right? And it is as I said in alpha, or I don't know, it's just early. It's just kind of like not fully finished. I'm working on it daily. People send me things, and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. I'll change that. But it's still in that process, and so that's kind of like where it's come from. I'd love to jump into anything else. I
Yeah, let's
suppose I'll let you tell me what you think from that, and we can unpack it anymore.
so I'm a big advocate of nodes. Also mining. My background's in mining. I mined Caspa when I was able to mine it on GPUs. I had a couple RSX GPUs that I was able to mine it on, and I loved it. I love the project. Ever since I started learning about Jonathan Sampoliski and how many white papers he's in, it's like the guy's a genius. He's a genius, and I've been following his work. I appreciate the fact that Caspa solves the trilemma, and we all know the firepower that is the tech of Caspa. And it's nice to see these things like Cas nodes, like Cas map, like all these things come together, and Cas pixel, you know, and so all these beautiful things come together and gives us different ways to see what's happening on the network itself. And so, yeah, if you have a chance, let's go ahead and bring it up. Let's look and see what we got here. Just give us a brief overview of the information that your website puts out. That'd be great.
Yeah, cool. Let me share my screen, and hopefully the presentation gods shine nicely on me today.
I got you.
Perfect. Cool. All right. So this is the landing page. So I suppose one of the big things to really kind of, I want to say first and foremost, that with a like a decentralized peer-to-peer network like Casper, there is intentionally no real way to, with 100% certainty, have every single node listed. It's just it's intentional. It's intentionally obfuscated, and it's by design, right? And so when the reason why I say that is because front and center on this page is Cas nodes estimates the relative size of the Casper peer-to-peer network by finding all of its reachable nodes. And so I really want that to be front and center because ultimately there is no real way to do this, but there is like a guesstimation with quite good accuracy, I'd say, right?
Okay.
And so even with Bitcoin, the same thing exists, and for any other network really that's peer to peer. Because if you had an easy way to kind of just pull a list of every single node operator, it could be a way that someone could attack your project. So I suppose oversimplifying
So it's
it,
good
but
to
I
have
just wanted
it's good to have a little bit of anonymity, a little bit of
100%. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that was one of the things because I did have a lot of questions for amazing wizard developers in the community, like Michael Sutton and the like, and and he kind of really hammered home the importance of that, right? But also the importance of the fact that if you are so inclined, the information is out there. So the information to like build your own crawler it exists. It exists. A crawler is the underpinning function that finds all the nodes on the network, right? So I suppose I wanted to mention that. But as you can see on this page, the dashboard is a couple of main things to be aware of, right? So I'll start with sort of total peers. So total peers is an interesting one, and I probably do intend to perhaps change the name of this because sometimes it can lead people to kind of get a little bit confused. Ultimately, total peers is a combination of all of the IP addresses that every node that my crawler has interacted with has in its database. And so, without getting too technical, but having to clarify it, every node that operates keeps in its own memory a series of IP addresses that it knows have been successfully connected to as other peers. So that's other nodes within the network, right? And so I believe the limit is it keeps about 4,096 entries in its memory, but only 8 of those entries of those IP addresses are active at any one time. And so those 8 addresses that it's active are 8 other nodes that it is connected up with out there in a peer-to-peer manner. Right. So the reason why I say that is because when I connect to a node as my little crawler that goes out there and finds all the other nodes, I'm essentially asking that node, hey, tell me all of the other people that you know, or in this case, not people, but other nodes that you know. And it says, well, here you go. Here's a 1,000 nodes that I'm aware of. They may not be active right now, or they might have been from a month ago because the memory might last. You know, it just depends on when one of those 8 falls out of connection, it just grabs another one from another node. But essentially, it grows that kind of memory of how many people it's got. And so the total peers here is essentially a combination of all of the addresses that my crawler has pulled, IP addresses in this case, pulled from those nodes and deduplicating. So if multiple nodes are aware of the same node, I'm removing that out of the mix, right? Okay, so it's essentially a kind of like a snapshot of network growth, but it's not a true representation of kind of like how many people are active out there. So when you look at that, it's not like, okay, there's 21,662 total nodes online. It's more of a way to see overall the tracking of this. And I will say that I might change the name, but I do try to really add a little bit of a FYI here. So for anyone that's inclined and wants to kind of understand this a little bit more, and where I kind of maybe detail some of the deduplication process and some of the process that I use to try and determine what is an online node, what is online or offline, right? So without kind of going too deep into it, I suppose that's essentially what the total peers section is, right?
So Luke,
Yeah.
Luke, you mentioned earlier that you do have a leaderboard, and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
and there is daily node rankings. Kind of let's yeah, kind of explain a little bit on how those numbers are accrued. I mean, what do you have to do to be the top node in
So
the Castmore website?
definitely it's an interesting function, and I will shout out that this idea for the rankings actually came from Shai himself, probably about a year ago when we first met, just over a year ago. We had a little bit of a brainstorm session after the event where we kind of went through a couple of different concepts of like different things. I can't remember the exact context of the conversation, but one of the things that he said, it was like, I always thought it was like a cool idea to, incentivize node operators to run a node by having them sort of provide a little bit of a fun ranking. For anyone that's not aware, running a node does not provide you any monetary incentive. We don't pay for people to run nodes, and it's really at the heart of decentralization, because once you pay people to run a node, which is the backbone of the network, it incentivizes it, and then you have entities out there that basically scoop up thousands of nodes and place them wherever they want, and then it becomes essentially controlled by one person, right? And because a node is very, very, very low resource required on KASPA, it could lead to issues. So that being the case, Shai came up with this idea, and it was something that stuck with me for a while, because I was always like, I wish I could kind of implement that, right? And that's where this page comes from. So essentially, what you're seeing here on the page is, and mind you, this is one of the features that I am displaying, but probably shouldn't, because it's not fully baked yet. But I did want to just kind of show it and say, hey guys, like this is a feature that I'm pretty passionate about, and hopefully kind of drum up some interest in that, which it certainly has. So essentially, the intention of this is to give or incentivize node operators to run a node first and foremost, keep the node up to date, So run the latest version, and also ensure the uptime of the node. Right. So if you have the latest version and you're running it, but you only run it 3 times a week, then that's defeats the purpose, right? A node should be online 24/7. So that being the case, I built a bit of a scoring metric, which essentially takes the data from the crawler and then um, applies a scoring to it, right? So it looks at all the nodes out there and it says, all right, so once a day we are going to look at over the last 24 hours, looking at it on average, which node has the newest version, right? Which node has the most peers, and each one of these is ranked kind of with a different sort of weighting. I think the agent version and the uptime is ranked kind of the most heavily, but it looks at the average peers and it looks at the uptime for the previous 24 hours and then spits out a score, right? And so that score, as you can see on the page, we've got a daily score for the #1 ranked node here, which has a randomized name, which I'll kind of mention in a minute. But it has said that this node here, which has scored 91.55, and it's on the latest version. Little bit of a bug here. It should say the average peers, but currently just shows some nice little images of little people, faceless people,
So real
and
quick,
24-hour uptime.
Real quick, Luke, I just want to tell everybody out there, since we're talking about uptime, and uptime has to do a lot with the node setup, which has to do a lot with the upgrade that's happening. Just to let you know, the recommended hardware specifications for the new upgrade, the minimum is 8 CPU cores, 16 gigabyte RAM, 256 gigabyte SSD, and 5 megabyte for network bandwidth. So but that's just the minimum. The preferred is actually 12 to 16 CPU cores, 32 gigabyte RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD, and higher network bandwidth for robust peer support. So just to let you guys know, before you upgrade, you better have the specs, because if you don't have the specs, you're not going to be able to upgrade, right?
Yeah, look, I think an important thing to really focus on that the testing of 10 blocks per second on testnet 10, which is quite saturated with a lot of transactions and does replicate or attempt to replicate a real world scenario, has determined that having 8 gigs of RAM is just a little bit too little. And so in the computer world, you jump in kind of increments. And so 16 gigs has been placed forward as definitely the recommended. I'm not too sure about what you mentioned about the 8 to 16 cores, because in my testing and what I've seen, definitely 8 cores is the spot.
Okay.
But definitely any node with more than 8 cores and 16 gigs of RAM is definitely not going to have a problem at all. So definitely a good point to call out there, and it is important because previously, as you can see on this page here, where I've detailed the node requirements, 4 cores and 8 gigs of RAM was the minimum, and it's, as you can see, it's just kind of jumped up double, right? And so in my testing, just for full transparency, I think the node uses on 10 blocks per second on testnet 10, it hovers around 9 gigs of RAM usage. So it's really not too much more than the 8 gigs that we previously, and so on mainnet for 1 blocks per second, I think it hovers around 7 gigs of RAM or 6 gigs, my memory serves me correctly. So really, it hasn't gone up a substantial amount. It's just in the computer world, the increments of RAM increase. You don't have someone running 10 gigs of RAM. Like it doesn't really usually exist. 12 gigs would probably be it, but 12 gigs to 16. So I think just to really keep it as simple as possible, these requirements here are going to be pretty well served if you have them. Okay, so we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but I did want to jump back a little bit to the node rankings page and just kind of call out, because it might be a little bit confusing because you're seeing all these kind of random names here, and people are going to go, "What the hell is that?" And so, as I kind of mentioned earlier, that with a network, a peer-to-peer network, there's not an easy button that you can just say, "Give me all the node addresses," right? There exists software like a crawler, which goes out there and tries to find all the nodes out on the network. Um, and they exist. They're fully out there. There's a repository you jump onto today, spin up a crawler in 20 minutes if you're so inclined, and you could potentially have the full list of IP addresses. But um, my thought was I just didn't want to really serve up people's IP addresses on a silver platter to the general public. If you're a technical person, you're just going to laugh and go, well, if I want to go get it, I'll go get it. But often friction is the biggest pain point for people, and so if I made it a little bit harder by not publicly displaying node IP addresses, then I feel a bit more comfortable with that. So that was the train of thought behind these randomized names here. And so essentially each node gets given a random name. And then in the future, the person who claims the node will be able to change this name to whatever they'd like, and then display whatever image they'd like on this page that represents their node. So if you're a business and you want to say, I'm the #1 node in the network, and you want to, put your little business name here, or you want to share a picture of your dog or your cat, and you can definitely go and do it.
That's neat.
So,
It's like your own little X page.
exactly.
You got all kinds of personalization.
I want to just kind of make it fun. I want to make it fun for people to run a node. We're not going to pay you to do it, but if you run a node and you happen to have all those criteria, which generally speaking is not hard at all. Like if you just update your node and you keep it online, it's not hard.
Right.
Then you'll be up in the top. And so yeah, this is the page that you get when you click into it. Has a nice different spread of information on there. As I mentioned earlier, this will be customizable. This little spread here of node, I call it a node vanity image, but call it whatever you want. And this is just kind of like a breakdown of some of the information. So it seems that the node that has been assessed in the last 24 hours to have been the top one is one that's located in Nuremberg. So apologies for butchering that for any Germans out there, but it seems that that's the top one at the moment. And you get a nice little sort of visual of where it's located. It's not going to be down to the street, but it'll show you the region, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you considered creating educational resources about the importance of node decentralization that could be integrated into CAS nodes or CASPA?
So look, my goal here is I want to make CAS nodes, and it may be an ambitious goal, but I want to make CAS nodes the center of the universe when it comes to CASPA nodes information, data on availability and where they are, and educational content on how to set them up. And as you can see here, even buy them if you're so inclined, right? And so that will definitely include educational content, whether it's in a video format or not.
I didn't know if that was something that you wanted to get into just yet, because I know that's something that is spinning up, right? You're not totally done with that part. So, but yeah, if you want to go into it, I'm down, man. I'd love to learn about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think my goal here is I love educating myself first and foremost. And if I feel comfortable enough with that education and I can then pass it on to someone else and they benefit from it, then it's a win for me and it makes it all kind of worthwhile at the end. So I just want to wrap up this page, I suppose. So the intention here will be, if you're a node operator, you do see some value in playing around with this little fun concept of a ranking. You kind of create an account. You'll register your log in there and set yourself up, and then you'll input your IP address. And the only person that can claim that IP address is the person connecting from that IP address. It doesn't really protect in every single scenario where someone could kind of game the system, but it's it's a balancing act. It's as good as it can be, which I think is sufficient for the requirement, and you'll claim it, and you can do whatever you want. You can call it Luke's node, you can call it Red's node, do whatever you please. So that's a cool thing. As you see, claim node coming soon. It's not there, but it's kind of conceptually, this is what it's going to look at. And so you'll see that it does show you many pages of the different nodes, and kind of, as you can see, like the lowest ranked one currently is,
So
it's got
essence,
quite an old version.
Yeah, in essence, could you link it to your KNS domain name?
That is definitely something that I've considered, and it's not out of the question. So at the moment, it's me throwing in every single idea I can, but really trying to focus on what is achievable with my small brain. But definitely KNS name linking is definitely a concept that I'd love to see, and just more interaction with different ecosystems within Casper would be cool. So yeah,
Yeah.
great idea, definitely. But yeah, look, that's this page, which arguably does provide a visibility into kind of the concept, but it may not be. It's not fully baked yet. So watch this space. It's a cool little idea there. Network page. I'll just kind of whiz through a little bit, but this is one that I do enjoy, and one that I really enjoy, specifically this view, which is this historical view of version adoption. And so one of the things that really, when I was trying to kind of put CAS nodes together, that I thought was really missing was, yes, we know at a glance what the current snapshot of versioning is across the network as of the moment you run that crawl, and you see all the different versions, but nobody is tracking it over time. And so I think that, like, seeing things over time, you can see trends, you can see different things that occur. Like visually right now on this page, we can see essentially two things that I'll call out. We can call out that on, I think it's the 4th of March, version 17 dropped. And on the 5th of March, we already had 5 people who moved across. And then it grows and it grows, and 30, and it kind of peaks at maybe 53 people were running that version. And then you can see on the 30th, or sorry, the 31st, we've got 48 nodes, and then boom, on the 1st of April, it jumps up to 36 people, and you can see the decline in people on version 17, and you can make an assumption that the version 17 people have now updated to version 1. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's a cool sort of tracking thing. I think seeing data gives people a vision of like what's going on out there in the network. Right. So yeah, this is a cool little page here. We'll tweak things as we go along. Yes, as you can see, I've got little coming soon tags on some data pieces that I'd like to kind of flesh out a bit more. I've broken down the spread of nodes via their external IP address. I won't get into the real technicals of it, but it spreads out this way, which is, there's nothing wrong with the fact that it says 3. It's just running an external address as an IPv6 address is not very common. So that's why the number is 3. Yeah, and then across to like network growth, and so I probably will tweak this a little bit more. This is maybe not the best way to display it, but hopefully over time, as we see the network grow and adjust, we'll be able to see really good visuals on like where it's going there. And then this one here, which is essentially showing the point of this bit is actually to show the decentralization of nodes by network. Because one of the biggest things that people aren't aware of is that, yes, nodes could be hosted geographically in different locations around the world. But if those nodes have been hosted on all on the same hosting provider, like for example, if someone chooses to host 20 nodes on AWS all around the world, ultimately they are nodes that are all hosted primarily on the same network. And so the network is broken up into many, many, many different layers. It's not just like one pipe going around there. This pipe intersects into different networks that are owned by different corporations, different companies, different countries. And so this is meant to represent, okay, where is the actual spread of nodes across the network? Do we have a concentration of Casper nodes that exist in AWS? And so you can see here, from what we can see based off the AS, which is essentially a number that represents that network segment, we can see we've got 5 nodes running on AWS. We have 24 hosted on OVH. The OVH, I believe, is a hosting provider. So they have, people can spin up what is called a VPS, or a virtual private server, and they can utilize essentially resources for hire. And then by extension, Hetzner as well, I believe, is the same thing. But as you go down here, you start seeing all these different, someone's running one node on this AS here, and that's likely a local ISP. Like, someone that an ISP is just the internet provider in that area. And so we're seeing
Right.
like all of these different internet providers where people are essentially running their node on their home internet.
And more importantly, it shows the decentralization of the nodes in the network. I mean, that's the most important part, right? Because people, it's just like you were talking about before. Once these things become monetized, and once people figure out they can make money from it, then the central entities come in and they kind of take over, right? And it kind of kills price action. They sell everything all at once, and so, you know, as much as the institutional money is good for crypto, it's also bad, for crypto. So I like seeing this visualization software that you have. It creates, it makes you want to continue to validate, right? Validate transactions on the KASPA network. And I believe that's one of the better things about CAS nodes is you're able to track yourself, you're able to see other people come on. But more importantly, you're able to add to the network security and so and the decentralization of the network, and you can be a part of something now. So that's where I believe, like, those ideas that you had with the customization and everything like that, that just encourages people, right?
Yeah.
Just gives people more incentive to come back and be a part of this. But yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to highlight?
Look, I mean, there's a couple other tabs here.
Okay.
Geographic distribution. It definitely touches on, where in the world. And this lovely little map here, this little button which takes you to. It's not sharing, but maybe I'll just quickly show that quickly, and you'll be able to see. If you can, I don't know if you need to approve to let me reshare that.
I'll bring that up. Yeah, I got you. There we go.
Yeah, so this is essentially a fun little feature that I added to the site, which is meant to give you another way to visualize the spread of nodes around the world. Okay, so looking at a flat map on the page can kind of, and you're sort of moving around, it can kind of throw off where it is. So this is essentially meant to represent where in the world different nodes are. And these little things. So there's 3 here, right? And if you click on it, it lets you click in and see. All right, well, there's one in Hong Kong. Its randomized name is called Stable Swap, and that's the ASN that's using Alibaba. So just a fun little way. There was a little different. There's an additional feature that I did add in here because I would love to see this used as kind of like a little. You know those like little map boards that in life and people put a pin to represent like where they are. I wanted that to kind of be like this. And so this actually has the function where you can choose your location. And if you have CASware on your browser, you pay 1 CAS and you can leave your message. And so that means you can leave a mark on the world. Let me see if I can find one. I think someone put one here. Maybe it's this one. So this person here called T-Type 23. Shout out to you. He placed a message there that says this, and a link to his page. So cool little fun feature. Something that I personally wanted to just implement because I actually just wanted to figure out a way to create a function of, first of all, receiving CAS, but then also verifying it because people could kind of game the system. So there's a kind of back end that functions just to make sure that the transaction actually occurs. But in addition to that, also shows you how quick it runs. So if I was to do a transaction right now, it actually has a counter and it says transaction was verified in 2 seconds, 3 seconds, etc., etc.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
Fun ways to get people involved. But yeah, I'll maybe just jump back to the page and I'll just give a quick overview of I'll just click through some of the other things, but I don't know if I need to go too deep into it. Oh, that's not
So,
it. That's
and
that's
I gotta wait for you. That's right. Because if
yeah.
I'm,
So if you click on now, I think you should approve.
there we go.
Cool. But back on the page here again, it's just breaking it down by region, which is cool. And then the last two functions is just kind of setting up a node. This is something that I'm actively working on at the moment. I'm actually going to release, hopefully, once I pull myself out of procrastinating, a quick video that shows how to set up a node in under 5 minutes and with as minimal amount of clicks as possible. So I really want to keep this simple. I really want to show new users who are interested in running a node really just how easy it is and some of the benefits. So this page is really a testament to that. I want it to be a one pager that has all the different methods and how to get involved. So set up a guide, some information on what to do, mentioning different elements of it, and yeah. And then I suppose if you don't have any questions about that, I'll jump to the buy nodes page, which is
Because I signed up for this. I went ahead and filled out the form and everything. Really can't do anything with it right now, right, Luke?
There is the reason why I'm not just putting it out there to the world right this second is I'm actively testing. I actually have that node right in front of me, like literally the one that's in that picture. So I have this like literally the same one right in front of me. I'm actively testing that software wise right now. So I come from, as I said earlier, I come from like the IT world, and right, the biggest thing with IT is that if you overcomplicate things, it may not be an issue right now. And I'm talking about general user consumption out in the world. I'm not talking about developing a code base, but if you make things overly complicated, in the future, most people will forget what to do. And most people will run into problems. So you have to think long term about if you're creating something for the average person, it needs to be as simple as possible. There's
It
this
looks like a
acronym
little. It looks like a little pie. That's. Looks like a
that's
little.
it. It's crazy. Like computers are getting so small. Like this. This is an example of a Raspberry Pi, right? So this is a single board computer, and so currently, you can definitely run a KASPA node on it. There is an 8 gig variant of the Raspberry Pi that will absolutely smash it. There is also a 16 gig variant that's actually just been released of the Raspberry Pi 5, which I'm a huge fan of the platform. I have multiple kicking around. Like as you can see, I have a lot of these sort of Raspberry Pis. But the problem is they've gotten to a point where they're just a little bit too expensive for the 16 gig variant, and that's where like things like this are coming into the mix. Where like this is a 4-core, 12 gig of RAM, 256 gig SSD mini computer, and this would definitely be an option for running a node on, and something I'm considering that maybe I will provide it as an option for people that are so inclined and just want to buy it and set and forget, I suppose. And so just doing some testing. But yeah, the intention here is for people that really want it and want to buy one. I want to give them the option, but I do want it to be really transparent that I do recommend people exploring how to set it up themselves first. So there is free options. I'm not trying to capitalize on everyone, but if you would like to spend some money and buy one, then go for it and I'll sell it to you.
Yeah, and I think that's what kind of like, it's the reason why I kind of gravitated to you, Luke. I've been following you now ever since, I kind of met you guys in Las Vegas last year when you came. Um, got to shake Shai's hand, but I didn't really get to talk to him, but I got to talk to Chad and I got to talk to you for a second. And I really enjoyed you guys and how genuine you were and how much you wanted to just teach people about this great tech. And I was kind of in awe a little bit. I was like, wow, there's organic people out there that truly just want to add to the network and want to see it grow and want to see mass adoption in the world. Not just the United States, not just Australia, not just UK, but the world. And so they actually want to make the world a better place. And I think that's one of the big things why I've stayed in contact with you, because you are real. You are real. And I just want to put your page up here for a second so everybody could see. If you guys get a chance, go follow Luke. Let's see if I can bring it up here. There we go. So this is Luke's page. As you can see, LD1, LD1, LD1.
LD1. It's a representation
There.
of my initials, Luke Dunshay. So LD and said in the way and one because there was someone else already had LD.
Yeah. Yeah. So go follow Luke. Scroll through all of his tweets. They're all educational. They're all about CASPA. Luke is the global ambassador for CASPA, unless that's changed. Has that changed?
It hasn't changed, but I do love to really add a little asterisk to that. I kind of do in a way lead some of the ambassador program initiatives, but I want it to be really well known that I do personally see everyone in the community who supports Casper as rightfully their own ambassador. And so when people say like he is the global ambassador, I do giggle a little bit because it kind of makes me feel like there's only one. But I'm just a man on the internet and a big supporter of Casper and someone that I do like to see myself as being an ambassador of Casper. But I also recognize that there's people out there across many different platforms that are an ambassador that may not be calling themselves one. So it's not that it's changed. I do have a little bit of a giggle when I say that and they go, he's the global ambassador. Like, what? There's just one dude up there on the stage going, Casper, Casper. No. There's many people. It's all good.
I've got the pleasure of meeting a couple. I follow a couple on Twitter, but guys, go follow Luke. Follow CASPA. Learn about CASPA. Learn about how great it is, what the tech is all about. Learn about what you could do on the blockchain and interact with people, interact with the blockchain, utilize it. Here pretty soon, it's going to be a lot different than what it is today, and I can't wait till that day comes. So thank you all for joining us. This is Redman. He is Luke, and we are out. All right.
And then we did break back. And then once again, people started calling for really low numbers. We put in a higher low as we didn't get back down to this level before kind of laddering on up. Now, I'm thinking that we might potentially be in a similar state of the market at the moment. We had this massive crash down. Everyone was calling for really, really low numbers. We did pump back up. People got excited. And then, yeah, we broke back down. However, if you haven't been living under a rock and you know what's been going on in the world at the moment and how that has been directly affecting the crypto markets, I'm talking big picture stuff. I'm talking about world leaders, what they're up to. So, anyway, what I did like to see, though, however, was after a couple of days ago where we had that massive news about all of the different countries that are going to be tariffed, we had a breakdown from 88K to 81K. Since then, we've been holding above that level. Over the last couple of weeks, we haven't been putting in lows below that. I do want to see us break out of this resistance line here and ideally reclaim and hold above 87K and then 91K. But I do think that a lot of the news is already priced in, and barring some massive retaliations across the globe, I do think that a lot of the news is priced in. And although there might be some short term downside, I think the lows, if they're not in, they are quite close. Obviously, none of this is financial advice. This is just what I'm doing, what I'm seeing. And I'm seeing that market sentiment is terrible. I'm seeing that everyone is calling for lower lows. I'm seeing that everyone is calling for a prolonged bleed in the markets. Now, most of the time, general consensus does not occur. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of looking at the moment. Also looking at the S&P. The S&P's had its worst day in the last 3 years. So last time we had a bleed this bad was back in 2022, where we dropped almost 20%. Now, currently we have dropped down 12%, so pretty large movement on the S&P. And when the S&P bleeds, risk on assets tend to bleed quite a lot. But now let's get into KASPA and what we are looking at currently. So KASPA on the chart, I won't lie, it is not looking ideal. So we have been kind of stuck in this falling wedge now since December. Now we broke below this range and we have been in a falling wedge. So we do really want to break out of this wedge, but thankfully we do have quite a lot of support coming up in the near future. Over the next 20 to 30%, if we do fall that far, we have a significant amount of support from 4.2 cents all the way up to 5.2 cents. Now, I'm not saying that we go this low, as quite often these levels are front run, and I do think it largely depends on S&P, Bitcoin, and how the general market responds to global news. KASPA at the moment, not an enormous amount to talk about on the chart, so let's have a look at the important stuff, what KASPA is actually doing. So as of April 1st, their hard fork node version is out. Now their mainnet Crescendo update is due to be released on the 5th of May, so that is 1 month from tomorrow. This transitions from 1 block per second to 10 blocks per second. So in comparison to Bitcoin, Bitcoin is 1 block roughly every 10 minutes and KASPA will be 10 blocks per second. So yeah, pretty crazy difference. And the 1 block every 10 minutes is one of the main reasons that Bitcoin has trouble scaling. Now that's why there is a need for that peer-to-peer payment solution. And KASPA, when the mainnet goes live, will make roughly 6,000 blocks for every block made by Bitcoin. I think it's pretty good to kind of have a think about that. 6,000 blocks per every 1 block, 6,000 times faster at generating blocks. So yeah, enormous things come into KASPA over the next month. And another couple of big integrations for KASPA. So they have now joined the crypto tax calculator ecosystem. And to me, probably more excitingly, Crypto Autos is now accepting payments in KASPA. So this further gives credibility to the fact that KASPA is seen as a currency. Now, if you're not familiar with Crypto Autos allows you to buy different cars or automobiles with cryptocurrency. So yeah, they target high-end luxury vehicles and they let you pay in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and now they accept KASPA. They do accept a bunch more, but I do think it further gives credibility to the fact that KASPA is seen as a payment solution. KASPA's also started sponsoring athletes, and it's also just got a new exchange listing being listed on Hybit Official. KASPA has a bunch of large exchanges. It does have a Coinbase and Binance futures listing. We still do want that spot listing from Coinbase and Binance, but yeah, futures listings for those and a bunch of other exchanges: Bybit, BitGet, Mexi, Gate.io, KuCoin, BingX, Kraken, Bitmark, LBank, XT, and there's a bunch of other exchanges they are listed on. So yeah, they still are working towards a few big exchanges, and those will be massive catalysts coming up in the future. Also, KASPA, the amount mined is going up. It is now over 90% mined. So the fact that there is only 10% left to mine is another bullish point for KASPA being a proof of work. You do have to mine KASPA. Now, there is a finite supply. There will only ever be 28.7 billion KASPA, and nearly 26 billion of that has already been mined. So that finite supply is running out and there is very minimal dilution to come. So yeah, that's just a quick one for me today, talking about what KASPA.
So as always, thanks for joining. It's your main man BTM signing out. Had a pretty crazy day, but as always, let's get back to the money and stay dangerous. Miner out.